What are your thoughts on the Tea Party movement, and are there any Democrats who you think are part of it?
Well, yeah, first of all, I saw a survey the other day that said that the Tea Party, the people who identified with the Tea Party in America, grassroots people, if there was no Tea Party candidate on the ballot, 20% of them said they'd vote for Democrats. The grassroots Tea Party impulse is basically positive. What they're saying is America really doesn't work for ordinary people. And the people that caused the economic crisis, big banks, they're in good shape, and we're not. The government helps the big guys, doesn't help the little guys, and everybody that works for the government, they're in good shape. They at least have a job, they got health care, they can make their mortgage payment, and we're not. And we want an America that works for ordinary people again. And we want to correct the abuses of big business and big government. That's the purest impulse. That's a healthy thing, because America needs to reform a lot of its systems now. Now, the surveys, however, all the reports that have shown that the major financial backers of the Tea Party are basically wealthy people who are very far to the right, and they hope by making it a crusade against government, they can make the world free for their big companies to run American life and life beyond our borders. So I think that many of the things these Tea Party candidates have advocated would actually would have the reverse impact that they advocate.
Are the Democrats underestimating the Tea Party movement?
I don't know. I think it would be a mistake. I think what we should say is those Tea Partiers, 20% of them, by the way, say they'd vote for Democrats if there were no Tea Party candidates on the ballot. Those, in their purest form, the Tea Partiers are saying, I've been let down by big business and big government. I've been let down because the big banks were bailed out, but nobody helped me. And the government that bailed them out, they're doing fine. They all have a job, make their mortgage payments, have health care, send their kids to college. I want reform in both. But the funders of the Tea Party movement tend to be pretty far-right extremists who want, their goal is to destroy the power of government to mediate the power of corporations. And I don't really think that is a sustainable position. My advice for the Democrats is don't play games. Make this about the American people. Tell them what we need to do and what you would do about it, and ask them if they really think you're more likely to do it than your opponent. I think we should just play it straight.
Ever since John McCain and Sarah Palin came in second in the presidential election in 2008, watching the Republican Party figure out what they want to do next, who they want to be their post-Bush, post-McCain leaders, what they want their party to stand for, it's been the greatest show on earth. But now that all of the major primaries are over, now that this year's slate of Republican candidates has taken shape, the post-Bush, post-McCain Republican position on the issues is measurable. It's not a theoretical fight anymore. It's not debate club. Republican voters have gone to the polls. They've selected their candidates. And by looking at the positions those candidates endorse, we can now measure what post-Bush, post-McCain Republicans stand for. Generally speaking, what they stand for is getting rid of Social Security. Or if we shouldn't eliminate it altogether, then we should at least privatize it and give it over to Wall Street.
Guess what's coming in Russ Feingold's negative campaign? He's going to tell you I said Washington treats Social Security like a Ponzi scheme. You know what? I did say that, because it's true.
I don't know whether it's constitutional or not. It is certainly a horrible policy.
We need to phase Medicare and Social Security out in favor of something privatized. We know that the government never gives
So don't fix it. You're saying don't do anything.
I'm saying it can't be fixed. It's broken.
It's a Ponzi scheme. They're taxing us to pay for the current generation.
The idea that the federal government should be running health care or retirement or any of those programs is fundamentally against what I believe.
We have to look at all the options that are out there, including privatization.
And put them into personal retirement accounts immediately.
What we need to do is personalize Social Security and Medicare.
If there was a hint of hesitation there at the end, a bit of a hedge. Did I say privatize? Maybe I mean personalized. That sounds better, right? Any hesitation, like what you heard from Sharon Angle and her rebranding effort there, is now going away. That's in part due to the influential, deep-pocketed conservative group, the Club for Growth. That's the get government down to the size where we can drown it in the bathtub group. That's the group once led by Pat Toomey, who's now the Republican nominee for Senate in Pennsylvania. The Club for Growth is now pushing for the privatization of Social Security, and they're pushing for Republicans to be proud to run on that. In a new post on its website titled Privatize Social Security, Hell Yeah. That's the name of their pro-privatized Social Security article. Hell yeah. Woo, yeah. We're not the social conservatives. We're the money guys. We swear. We say H-E double hockey sticks. You may remember that after he won re-election in 2004, President George W. Bush toured the country pushing his plan to privatize Social Security. Remember, he said he had accumulated political capital and now he wanted to spend it.
I earned capital in the campaign, political capital, and now I intend to spend it. It is my style. That's what happened after the 2000 election. I earned some capital. I've earned capital in this election, and I'm going to spend it for what I told the people I'd spend it on, which is, you've heard the agenda, Social Security.
Social Security. The president did do a national road show about privatizing Social Security in 2005. He told the American people how excited he was for the elderly to divert their Social Security checks to Wall Street. And while President Bush was manifestly excited about that idea, the American people were not. The roadshow was a failure. The accumulated political capital dispersed. The American people were not moved, and boy, did that turn out to be handy. Because take a look at this. This is the S&P 500 index over the last 5 years. From about the time that President Bush was proposing, we start putting people's Social Security checks in the stock market. If you retired under a privatized system like the one George W. Bush was pushing in 2005, you would just have to hope to not need that retirement money in a year that looks, say, like 2009. But there's another element to privatizing Social Security that even Republicans who say they're in favor of it don't like to talk about very much. And that's overhead, the cost of administering it. Right now, as it is, with the government in charge, Social Security is cheap to administer. As our friend Ezra Klein pointed out in a recent column for Newsweek, administrative costs for Social Security are less than 0.9% of total spending. In other words, it costs relatively nothing, sort of, to run Social Security. Less than 1% of the total cost of the program is spent running it. It is super efficient. And it's a government program. I know your head's exploding. How is this possible? Same way it's possible for Medicare. Some big government programs like Medicare and Social Security have like Zippo for overhead. They are very efficient. But if you privatize Social Security, you instead start paying private for-profit Wall Street financial firms to manage Social Security money. And they're probably not going to operate like the super efficient government programs they would be replacing because, after all, they are private, they are for-profit, and they are in it to make money. In fact, back when President Bush was pushing for privatization in 2005, his own Social Security Commission estimated that under their system of individual accounts, 5 cents of every dollar would go to pay administrative costs. 5%. For those of you keeping track at home, that's more than 5 times more expensive than it is now. So yeah, the government now doesn't gamble with old people's Social Security checks on Wall Street, and it can administer this program for almost nothing. But Republicans think it would be a better idea to go ahead and pay Wall Street 5 times as much to do with Social Security checks whatever it is that Wall Street does with money, which, as we know, sometimes involves losing it, a lot of it, quickly. And remember, this is not people's investment portfolios. This is not PIN money. This is a safety net. In many cases, for millions of Americans, this is the safety net. If you are retired and Social Security benefits account for the majority of your income, which is true for the majority of all retired Social Security recipients, if you are one of the 13 million retired Americans who would live below the poverty line without Social Security, when you lose the value of your safety net portfolio to a downturn in the stock market, or when you watch it get eaten up over time by Wall Street fees, that's it. That was the safety net. There isn't one anymore. Suddenly you're 85 years old, living in cardboard and eating cat food. But hey, don't worry, most of these same candidates who we just mentioned, the ones who want to get rid of Social Security or privatize it or personalize it, they're also talking about phasing out Medicare, which is our health insurance program run by the government for older people. So you will be 85 years old, living in cardboard, eating cat food, and trying to buy health insurance on the private market. And if there's any one group of people who can reliably find affordable health care on the private market, it's definitely people who are Social Security age. So far this campaign season, people have been paying a lot of attention to tax cuts and to the individual wackiness factor of a lot of this year's crop of candidates. But right now, these issues, Social Security and Medicare, are at the heart of Republican policy proposals. At the center of the Republican platform is the idea that maybe there shouldn't be a safety net for retired people in this country. That is what Republicans are fighting for this year. If you take away all the characters, all the gaffes, all the scandals, this is what they're proposing. Democrats have been running away from the New Deal for so long, they are sometimes afraid to say it. But the New Deal brought us Social Security, and Social Security has been really good for America. And Republicans want to ash can it. Some Democrats may be too scared of their own shadows to say it, but it is worth saying.
Well, former President Bill Clinton hitting the campaign trail a bit over the weekend, crisscrossing the Northeast, really, something for Democrats in 3 states. Look at this.
And, of course, they got the Wrestling Federation lady in Connecticut and the witchcraft lady in Delaware. And I tell you, so far they've gathered up about everybody for this Tea Party but the Mad Hatter. And Alice in Wonderland, I'll give it to him, I think.
You know, I've been involved in politics and public life in one way or another for 4 decades. And during those 40 years, our country has voted 10 times for president. Democrats won only 3 of those times, and the man who won 2 of those elections is with us today. Tremendous progress during the 90s under a Democratic president, with a flourishing economy and our leadership for peace and security respected around the world. Just think how much more progress we could have made over the past 40 years if we'd had a Democratic president. Think about the lost opportunities of these past 7 years on the environment and the economy, on health care and civil rights, on education, foreign policy, and the Supreme Court. Imagine how far we could have come, how much we could have achieved if we had just had a Democrat in the White House. We cannot let this moment slip away. We have come too far and accomplished too much. Now the journey ahead will not be easy. Some will say we can't do it, that it's too hard, we're just not up to the task. But for as long as America has existed, it has been the American way to reject can't-do claims and to choose instead to stretch the boundaries of the possible through hard work, determination, and a pioneering spirit. This election is a turning point election, and it is critical that we all understand what our choice really is. Will we go forward together, or will we stall and slip backwards?
The choices you make in politics are like the choices you make in life. You look at the facts as best you can, and you make the best available choice.